Good morning, sir.
Morning, my dear friends. Today we are going to start a new topic, new chapter, and also associated new concept. So today's lecture is basically we'll start slow failures. We'll start with slow failures. How slow fails and what was the most predominant type of slow failure in mines. Primarily, geoscientists have classified and categorized the slope failure into four major domains. First is the planar failure. Second is the wedge failure. Third is the circular failure. And the fourth is coupling failure. These are the most predominant kind of possible slope failure types in rock and soil slope. Now, today we will start this deliberation with planar failure modes, and one by one we'll learn how plane failure occurs, what are the conditions, and next how to analyze this failure using the uh, science of failure mechanism of rock. And later on we will try to study how to mitigate this kind of slope failure in the mines and what would be the kind of monitoring technique that will follow in the next lecture onwards. So let's start today's discussion with planar failure mode. Before starting of the class, let me show you an example. I have tried to give you this example many a times. Planar failure means the scale and the weight, paper weight is visible to all of you. Planar failure means failure along a specified plane. Failure along a specified plane. Failure is occurring along which plane is basically planar one. That is why here connotes this kind of failure as planar failure mode. This is the block, this is the wedge failing along a plane. That is what planar failure is. Now, let me show how these things happen in real slope cases and what are the major assumptions and geometrical conditions to be satisfied to categorize this. Yes, it is a planar failure mode. So let me show you that. Okay, so let us concentrate today on planar failure mode. This is the typical block. This is a typical block. This arrow is showing the block which is sliding along this plane, Plane is shaded one, and also the characteristics is planar one. So that is what the planar failure means. Now you may question that when this failure is occurred, this is a kind of failure, any rock failure. So when this failure is occurring, there is definitely some kind of equilibrium is disturbed. Equilibrium is disturbed, and we'll measure which force is responsible for this failure. Which force is responsible for this failure? We will try to estimate that force for a given slope, so that in the mind we will extend this analysis, and finally using this analysis, if this is the force uh, initiating this failure, then we should take a plan in such a way that this kind of force does not arise or we can avert. So let us discuss that. Before going into that details, we should remember that this failure is considered with a boundary conditions, geometrical conditions. And these geometrical condition, if and only if satisfied, these geometrical condition, if and only if satisfied, then only we can categorize the failure as planar failure mode. This point is very, very essential to remember. First point is, in my video, in the first one, I have tried to show you failure is along a plane. Now, this is a plane along which the failure is occurring. Okay. Now, slope phase may be different. Slope phase may be different. Slope angle is like this, and weak plane angle is like this. First condition is the plane along which the sliding will occur. It must strike parallel or nearly parallel to the slope phase. Means this plane strike is along this, slope phase strike is along this. So these two strike must be parallel to each other. Okay? And if it is not parallel, at least 20 degree plus minus orientation should be like that, so that it could be categorized under broadly as planar failure mode. It is understood? Everybody, it is understood? Because this is a geometrical concept, so you have to understand this particular concept very well so that we can proceed. Do you find any difficulty to understand this concept? Anybody?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Second condition is, it is obvious that this plane failure angle, this plane failure must be less than the angle of the slope phase. Not only so, it must daylight in the slope phase. This is slope phase. It must intersect at some point, it must daylight at the slope phase. And third is, this deep angle, this is deep angle, this is slope angle. This deep angle must be greater than the angle of internal friction of the material. And the fourth condition is, this weakness plane must intersect at the slope surface, or it may terminate at the tension crack. And the final condition is, you may ask a question, this is for a free body, it is sliding. This is free body, it is sliding. I have not assumed any rock surface or a surface here. When this block is mobilizing, when this block is sliding, this is sliding just like along this plane with some resistance. But there is no resistance in the side, this side as well as this side. So planar failure mode should assume that there is a release surface and resistance along the release surface is zero or negligible. That is why in a 2D, we consider this block as a unit thickness, and this area of this block is basically the volume of the block. Now, these 5 conditions must be satisfied, and only we can categorize this kind of failure as planar failure mode. Let me proceed. So this is an example how a planar failure looks like. This is a cell deposit, a bedded cell deposit. So you can observe this bedding plane is parallelly oriented, and anytime this plane can slide along this specified discontinuity plane, that is bedding plane. So these are smooth and very high persistent cell, and that is why there is high chances of failure probability for this kind of plane. Now, take a schematic diagram and how we can proceed the analysis. So, in this planar failure mode, we have few parameters like slope height. Slope height, it is not mentioned in this figure, but slope height is one parameter. There is a tension crack. The length of the tension crack is another parameter. This is slope surface. Slope surface is now oriented with some angle with the horizontal with tau S, and this is F angle, this is P angle, and this is friction angle phi. Okay. So this friction angle is less than the angle of inclination of the weak plane. This weak plane inclination angle is less than the angle of the slope face. This is slope face, this is upper surface, and this is tension. So the relationship is F greater than P greater than phi. Okay. So psi F greater than psi P greater than phi. Second condition is we must assume in our analysis the block is of unit thickness. Block is of unit thickness. The third is the fifth condition. Whenever the plane is moving, necessarily in the side there will be some resistance. But in our analysis, we are neglecting that part. And we are assuming the release surface will be there, and release surface will not offer any resistance for the movement of the block. This is a very important point to be noted. Now, let us consider one by one how we can explain using the mathematics these failure types. First is we will do experiment with varying groundwater conditions. Already we have learned a lot of things about groundwater conditions. So we will simplify that conditions in our slope failure case, and case to case basis we will analyze what is the effect. One thing we have understood, tension crack is there. Tension crack position maybe you can debate on. Tension crack may be on the slope surface. Tension crack location may be on the slope face. But necessarily there will be a tension crack. One. Second is, if it is so, the slope surface is making an angle with the horizontal. You can assume that this psi s may be 0. So it is a flatter horizontal surface on which we are doing analysis. For that case, the tension crack length and the slope height ratio will be like this: 1 minus cot psi f and tan psi p. This relationship will valid for a case slope surface angle is 0 with the horizontal and the angle weakness plane striking parallel to the slope face, and so are the conditions satisfied to be a planar failure condition. Now, we have understood there is a ratio, and that ratio can be found out z divided by h. You can do that same thing in your home. Okay, you can do that. Now, to proceed with our analysis, let us take some assumption. What assumption? One assumption is a both sliding surface. Both sliding surface are both sliding surface and tension crack striking parallel to the slope. In the analysis, we have already assumed as a planar failure, weakness plane should strike parallel to the slope face. Along with that, we are also assuming crack is also, tension crack is also aligned parallel to the slope face. Second assumption is, now let us do a experiment on varying water depth. Tension crack necessarily to be filled with water if the mines is exposed to rain. If the mines is exposed to rain, necessarily this tension crack will be filled with water. So when this tension crack will be filled with water, that will exert side pressure as well as buoyancy pressure, upward hydrostatic pressure that we have already learned. Second is water will not stand as a connote water, okay, or a stagnant water. Water will try to flow. Water will try to flow along the weakness plane. If the weakness plane do not have any impermeable or infilling material, then water will percolate down the slope face. And when it is exposed to slope face, that will shift drop by drop, and it is exposed to atmospheric pressure. Means here at the bottom of the tension crack have the highest water head, and at the slope face it is exposed to air, that is the zero water head. That is, there is a gradient. There will be a gradient. The upward pressure exerted on the weakness plane will be formed just like a gradient here at the base highest, at the slope face it is zero. So there will be a gradient, the U to be determined following this principle. Now take this example. We have already assumed that weakness plane is striking parallel to the slope face. One assumption. Tension crack is also parallel to the slope face. This tension crack location is assumed in the slope surface. And if the slope surface is with an angle with the horizontal psi s, conditions that we have assumed that a few minutes back will looks like that. Tension crack filled with water that will exert pressure equally in all direction, as well as hydrostatic pressure upward. Here it is the highest pressure, here it is the lowest pressure, because it is exposed to air now. So here the pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. So there is a gradient. So we have to find out what is the amount of U. We have to find out what is the amount of V, and that is very easy to find out if we know the head of the water in the tension. That is very easy. Okay. Now let me proceed. Another condition we have already assumed, the tension crack position may be at the slope surface or at the slope face. At the slope face, if it is in the slope face, condition will more or less remain same, but the geometry will be altered, and it will looks like that. But the pressure distribution kind will remain the same. Water will exert pressure, water will exert thrust, as well as the buoyancy pressure on the base, that will remain same, that we will calculate. Now, we have understood that this block, when it is sliding, block have a weight. That weight is acting along the center of the gravity of this block, downward, vertically downward. So when this is an inclined plane, block weight is acting vertically downward. Necessarily, force acting on an inclined plane will have two components. One will act parallel to the slope plane, another will act perpendicular to the slope plane. So when a force sliding along inclined plane, necessarily there will be a two component. One will act parallel to the slope plane, another will act perpendicular to the slope. Two, we have already learned in the tension crack, if it is filled with water, then water will exert pressure in all direction, and necessarily the block that is going to slide, that will be weakened. More force will be exerted on that block, and mobilizing that block will be easier in that particular case compared to the dry case. So U is basically a destructive force acting on the block, okay, that we have to determine. U is also a buoyancy force reducing the significantly the sigma n, that is it is going to be sigma n dash. Effective normal pressure will be reduced. Not only that, it will also reduce the cohesion of the material. Okay, so we have to understood now. We have already learned according to the Mohr Coulomb criteria, tau is equal to C plus sigma n dash tan phi. Now, in a slope, if any failure is going to occur, in a slope, if any failure is going to occur, or we are considering a failure on a slope, what two things we will calculate? One thing we will calculate how much force is going to develop that will mobilize the block to slide. One. Second, we will measure the amount of force that is going to develop to resist the movement of the same block. And if this resistance is more, the block will not fail. If the resistance is more, then the block will not fail. So, let me consider this kind of case. Here we have already found out a nice diagram, that is the distribution of the normal stress in a weak plane. If we change the slope face angle and the weakness plane. Here in the x direction, we have assumed the slope plane, slope surface, slope face angle. So if it is 20 degree, and if it is the slope weakness plane, the plane it is striking parallel to the slope face, it is 20 degree. So the amount of normal stress ratio sigma divided by gamma r h will be around will be around 0.5. Will be around 0.5. So this is an empirical relationship being developed, and from this chart we can estimate the amount of normal stress acting on the plane. This is a very effective tool for estimating the normal stress acting on a plane. For remain, you have to consider other conditions remain same. Now the next assumption, we have already taken that release surface are present and no resistance is offered on the sliding face, the lateral boundary. Okay. Now, when we will consider the 2D, there is the unit thickness and the block area is basically the volume of the block. So, two component we will calculate how much amount of force is generated that is going to mobilize this block for sliding. Okay, that is called driving force. Okay, and another force due to the resistance of the rock is the shear resistance. Force will develop, and it is proportional to the amount of normal stress acting on the plane. Is called the resisting force, C plus sigma n dash tan phi. So this ratio is basically the factor of safety. So resisting force divided by driving force is the factor of safety. Resisting force is nothing but Ca. A is the block area, summing of all normal force into tan phi. Phi is the friction angle of the material divided by sum of S, the amount of force acting, resisting force acting downward, parallel to the slope face. So we can find out if we apply the groundwater condition U and D, this factor of safety expression will look like Ca W cos psi p minus U minus D sin psi p tan phi divided by W sin psi p D cos phi. Okay. Here A is nothing but the area of the block, and it is basically H plus B tan psi p psi S minus Z cosec psi p. You can already find out this is, you need not to be remembered this expression. For a given expression of H, W and B, B is the length, B is the spacing of the tension crack from the crest. Okay, H is the height, and psi S is basically the slope angle of the surface against the horizon. You can determine this expression easily following the triangular relationship, trigonometrical relationship. We can find out U, we can find out D. D is nothing but what? B is nothing but, let me take the board.
It's the length of crack from edge.
So,
B.
yes, let me show you. This is my board. The water is basically, if you take a bottle of water, this is the water surface. The pressure is highest at the bottom. We all know that. And this pressure is nothing but the height of the column is H. This is gamma WH is the pressure exerted at the bottom of the bottle. Okay. Similar thing can also be explained. Suppose for a tension crack, say tension crack. Now this is a tension crack. If there is a water, so water pressure is highest here. So this pressure is basically the height of the water column is ZW, basically gamma W. But here it is 0. Okay. So it is 0 and here it is gamma W ZW. What is the areas of this triangle? It is basically the V equal to half ZW to gamma W ZW equal to basically half Z square. This is B, and this B, this is the amount gamma W here, okay, and is 0 here, it is gamma W here. So this is same, it is applied for this, and this is basically A, length and area is same here. This is the A. This A was you can remember H plus B something minus Z cosec psi something. That expression I have already shown. So multiplied by this is basically the U. That is what we are going to see. This is how we can determine the expression of U and V. Okay. So U A is this. A is this. A is this. So multiplied by this half. This is basically the U, and V is this. Now, considering the tension crack on the inclined upper surface, W is this. Considering the tension crack on the slope face, it would be like this. Okay, that's two expression. You need not to be remember. For a given geometrical condition, you can calculate accordingly following this trigonometrical principle. Now, here we have the uh, parameters. H is the height. It is measurable quantity we can measure. D is also one parameter, measurable quantity. Z is also a measurable quantity, the height of the tension crack. ZW, the amount of water field, is also measurable quantity. Psi F, measurable quantity. Psi P, measurable quantity. Psi S is also measurable quantity. So, in these equation, you can easily find out rest of the parameters using these known variables. Now, if we consider a ground water conditions in a planar failure mode, you have to necessarily assume few conditions. Okay? One condition is water is only present in the tension crack and flow is occurring along the sliding plane. Else. G is exerting in this left side direction. Along with that, we are not assuming that water will flow along the block. So we are assuming flowing along the rock block is more or less. So this is not so that we have already analyzed groundwater conditions. So some compromise we are doing here, but that compromise will not affect very much the overall factor of safety. Third conditions we can do for a sensitive case, we can analyze using the flow nets and how this flow net pattern is like that, and where is the equipotential is located, and based on that we can find out the pressure distribution. And the fourth is basically if it is basically isotropic and homogeneous, then the rest of the things that we have already calculated is fine. But if it is not so, if it is anisotropic, then we have to consider certain more parameters and we have to measure the hydrostatic pressure distribution using the now it is very difficult precisely to measure the groundwater pressure distribution in the slope, particularly when there is a rapid change occurs. So, in general, for a static condition, U and V can be found out using those relationships I have already discussed, and that is very easy. And you can also calculate using this. You can advance these models, and accordingly vary that, and you can find out the sensitivity of the analysis using these parameters. And as and when it is demanded, you can also incorporate more and more complex conditions. So, first condition is, let us take an example. Groundwater level is above the tension crack. So, water pressure is exerting on the tension crack as well as on the slope plane. So, U and V that we have found out, the expression will remain valid. So, this condition is now known to us and we can deal with this condition. What is second condition? Second condition is that if the weakness plane is filled with impermeable material, this weakness plane filled with impermeable material, that will not allow water to flow along the weak plane. Okay? So if it is not allow water flow to occur along this plane, so there is no question of U. So U will be 0 and V will remain same. So we can again utilize our earlier expression and we can proceed. So condition 2 is solved. Okay. Now let us consider condition 3. Condition 3 tells us about the conditions. Condition 3 tells us about the condition. And suppose temperature is rapidly decreased and water is transformed into ice. Water is transformed into ice, or the slope face, the striking plane daylighting slope face, somewhere in the daylighting point, it is been trapped. It has been trapped in such a way that water is not getting a outlet. Water is not getting an outlet to exit out from the slope plane. So water pressure redistribution pressure is more or less equal along the plane. And if A is the length and rho is the pressure, so U is basically A into P is the pressure, then A into P is the total pressure U. So U expression is now changed. And this P is basically gamma W Z. Gamma W Z. So for the condition 3, now we have solved. So this is the condition 3. Water is trapped here. Water is not getting an exit point. So the pressure will act uniformly along the plane. So U is basically A into P. This P is basically gamma W Z. Now the fourth condition is tension crack is not filled with water. The water was there initially, but it is being flowed down along the slope plane, and slope plane is also not filled with water. At the middle, the Z is highest. At the bottom it is Cp, so it is 0, it is 0. So both sides is 0. So the triangular pressure redistribution will be studied here. Triangular pressure distribution will be studied here. And based on that, we will analyze the HW, and this expression, for this expression we have considered U is basically ZW, half ZW, total height of the water, down 0, divided by sine psi p, angle of the inclined plane. Okay. HW is the middle portion water height, okay, hydraulic head, and gamma W is the uh, density or unit weight of the. So this is understood. B is 0 here. So all four conditions now we have satisfied. All four conditions now we have satisfied. Based on this, we can estimate the factor of safety in different groundwater regime. All this regime we have considered only steady state. We have only considered the steady state flow. Now, we have not given any attention. About the critical locations of the tension crack. Critical location and critical length of the tension crack. You may ask one question, why it is necessary? It is necessary because the schematic diagram we have shown, it is a representative one. But in a real slope cases, determining and estimating this location of the tension crack is very, very difficult, because the top portion of the slope is maybe filled with soil, maybe vegetated. So, visibility of the tension crack is negligibly low. So, we have to apply some mathematics here, logic. Let us consider what could be the optimum location according to the theory we have developed till now using the limit equilibrium method. What could be the optimum location of the tension crack? Let us consider and proceed in that direction. If we consider that, then we have to differentiate the right hand side and double differentiate again, and finally we can find out critical ZC, that is the critical height of the tension crack. And the relationship is basically ZC divided by H is equal to 1 minus cot psi F and tan psi P. This is a very simple expression, and this is the optimum location for which factor of safety is optimal. Okay. Secondly, the critical location. This is the critical length. Now the critical location, that is from the crest, it is V meter away, striking parallel to the slope face. So the BC is also can be found out using the same method, which is basically root over Q cot psi F cot psi P minus cot psi F. So these are found out. Now we can do some amount of reconnaissance survey in the site, and based on the reconnaissance survey, we will try to find out the locations of the tension crack. Only mathematically what could be the optimal one, critical one, we have found out. Not it is the real one. So, tension crack is basically an indicator of the slope failure. Let us discuss this point in a brief way. Now you may ask, why this tension crack is developed? Why this tension crack is developed? Now the question is, if this block is sliding, initially this block was intact. This block is sliding means already the intactness of the block is get reduced, and it is been separated from the whole mass. So one point is sure and sanguine, that is, tension crack is representing that already a failure is started in your slope, and due to the failure started in the slope, this block is separated from the rest of the mass, and due to that tension crack is formed. This tension crack is formed due to the already initiated block movement. This block cannot move as long as it is intact position with the rest of the rock mass. So that intactness is broken down. Okay. Now due to that tension crack is formed. Okay. Now this discovery was made first by Barton 1971. Barton 1971. He proposed that if sliding is occurring means already a tension crack is resulted due to small amount of shear movement. Because this is a large block, small amount, less than millimeter, 0.01 millimeter movement can also develop a tension crack parallel to the slope. It is a possibility. Now, second is, it is very difficult, I have already told you, that to pinpoint and locate this discontinuity, but it is very important. It's very important. Second is, if this block movement is already started, if this block movement is already started, then along the plane, it is already shearing. If it is already shearing, then the graph we have plotted, shear stress divided normal stress, rock will not exhibit the peak shear strength because it is already mobilized. So it is get reduced to residual strength. It is get reduced to residual strength, further deteriorate, and finally rock will slide. If the shear strength will reduce to residual shear, that is a small one, so the resisting shear will be reduced, and finally factor of safety will be low, and that will coincide simultaneously with the movement of the block. So in that respect, it is very essential to know the locations of the tension. Now, people have developed also the empirical relationship here, and they have plotted the critical length of the tension crack and also the angle of the inclined plane, weakness plane, with a varying angle of the slope face, and they have found out a very nice relationship, ZC divided by H, the ratio we have already found out, and in the x direction it is psi p. So based on that psi p and psi f it is known, we can easily find out the critical location of the critical length of the tension crack. Second, also we can find out if we know the slope face angle, okay, and we know the weakness plane angle, we can find out the ratio of BC divided by H, and H is known. So this ratio, it is known, BC can be known easily. So based on these relationships, we can find out the critical location and critical length of the tension. Now, let us consider a completely different case. Yes, if up till now we have considered the role of cohesion. As per, if you remember the Barton equation, this weakness plane is basically is a joint. Okay? Then joint resistance is nothing but associated with the asperities of this plane, asperities of the plane. So we have to find out I is equal to JRC log JCS divided by sigma. You have to find out. Okay. So how to do that? Okay. How to do that? Now, based on that, we have tried to find out the basically the critical slide plane inclination based on this relationship is basically half of face angle and the friction angle. Okay, half of friction angle, half of the slope face angle and the friction angle. So it is basically the critical, that is basically psi p we are finding out, psi p we are finding out, and psi p critical amount is nothing but equal to the average of the slope face angle and the friction. So this is the case. Consider a case tension crack how it is looks like. This is from a case of British Columbia. This is a real picture. So this tension crack will looks like this. This is a huge one. Okay. So impact is huge on the slope face. So let us consider this how it will be affected the overall factor of safety. Now, due to the presence of the water, okay, the plane inclination angle will be reduced in the percentage of 10%. The percentage of 10%. Rest of the things will remain same, and we can find out the effect of that using all the equation we have developed. Think about this case. The case is here slope is filled with water, not filled with water. U is equal to 0, V is equal to 0. So normal stress acting on the sliding plane is basically W cos psi p divided by A. W is the weight of the block and psi p is the plane angle and A is the area, that is the length of the plane. Now, if we reconsider our factor of safety expression in this light, it would be factor of safety is tau to A. This tau is basically the resisting shear, and W sin psi p is basically the force acting to mobilize the block. So this tau is basically C is negligibly 0 because already it is shear. So C will be 0. So it is basically sigma n, sigma and tan phi n, sigma and tan phi. So this phi will be with phi plus I. Phi plus I, this I is equal to GRC log 10. This is divided by sigma. Okay. So finally, this relationship will come for a purely rough inclined plane. The factor of safety can be redefined in the term of tan phi plus I. I is the as per it is, divided by tan psi p. Tan psi p. So if the phi plus I is greater than psi p, factor of safety will be greater than 1. If it is less than 1, less than psi p, the factor of safety will be less than 1. So based on these conditions, we will proceed. And one thing we have missed today, that is the inclusion of the bolt. How the bolt will help us to strengthen the failure, strengthen the movement, and that we will try to discuss in the next class. So this is all about considering a real case, how we can estimate the maximum normal stress acting on a plane using the relationship already we have developed. Now we can find out. So this is all about the plane failure on a rock. Remember, plane failure is only occur on a rock, not on soil. Okay, and provided the first slide we have considered 5 conditions, and if and only if these 5 conditions is satisfied, then only we will categorize this plane failure. Now, this is all about today. Now I will request you all to raise your hand so that one by one we can answer the questions and we can clear the doubt. Ajay. Ashish.
Yes, sir. No doubt, sir.
Haritharun.
No, sir.
Mansi.
Sir, no, sir.
Mansi.
No doubt, sir.
Natavar.
No doubt, sir.
Sanjay. Sanjeev.
Sir, if that sliding plane is not a straight line, if it is in a curved line, then how do we find that area, sliding area?
Then we will not consider it as a plane failure at all.
So means is it necessary that always it will fail in a straight plane? So it may be curve
Maybe,
figure.
yes, it may be. But for that case, we will not analyze using the plane failure methods. We will
So that
utilize a
will be
separate
circular
method.
failure. Oh, circular
There
failure
are
maybe.
so many methods. We will discuss one by one, and after after 5 or 6 days, it would be clear. Then only you will ask again this question. If in the lecture it is not answered, then I will try to answer. Okay,
Okay.
that would be good. Once you will try to understood the different methods, and
Yes.
you will try to correlate your question whether your question's answer lies in this method, and if it is not fulfilled, we'll try to again try to answer your question precisely so that it will be satisfied.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Any more question?
And sir, means not regarding this lecture, you send us a separate mail for this class homework assignment, and so I already sent. So did you get that, sir?
Most probably I have checked 1, 2, 3, but not individually. Not individually, I have to check. Okay.
So I include all those till that
Okay.
assignment in
Don't
one
worry.
single. Hmm.
Don't worry. If it is submitted, you don't worry. Okay.
Okay.
I'll
And sir,
consider.
what about yesterday quiz? So you told in last date that you will discuss something regarding
Okay.
our performance.
I will discuss 1 minute. Before that, Samraj, any question you have?
No, sir.
Let me discuss about